Hello, young adults and others listening. Welcome to our Word of the Week series. Today, I want us to consider the letter G and zero in on the word grace and the deep and everlasting meaning of the biblical word grace. Webster's dictionary defines grace as 1. Help held to be given man by God, especially in overcoming temptation. 2, a state of freedom from sin and of love by God, held to be enjoyed through divine grace. It goes on to mention grace as a prayer before a meal or a temporary delay granted from the performance of an obligation, such as the payment of a debt. Also, grace is used to describe one's acceptance, such as stay in one's good graces. And so grace is defined in many ways. But let us look more closely at what the Bible has to say about grace. Wayne Grudem, in his writings on systematic theology, clearly points out how common grace and saving grace influence each other. Please note that common grace does not save people. Common grace, of course, influences and enriches the church, since apart from God's common grace given to carpenters and other kinds of craftsmen, there would be no church buildings. Apart from common grace given to printers, typesetters, and bookbinders, there would be no Bibles. In countless ways, in everyday activities, the church benefits from common grace. On the other hand, the saving grace that God freely gives to believers brings more of the blessings of common grace to unbelievers living in the realm of the church's influence. Do you recognize God's common grace in your life? What are some of the reasons for God's common grace? Let me consider suggest four. 1, to redeem those who will be saved. 2, to demonstrate God's goodness and mercy. 3, to demonstrate God's justice. And 4, to demonstrate God's glory. Common grace does not mean that those who receive it will be saved. So, are you saved? This is where saving grace is required in the doctrine of salvation. Paul explains this in Romans and in Ephesians and in other places. Let me just read in Romans 3, verse 20 to you. For by works of the law, no human being will be justified in his sight, since through the law comes knowledge of sin. Then we look at Romans 3, 23 and 24. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and are justified by his grace as a gift through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus. And then we see in Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not of your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. We clearly see in these passages that grace is a gift. The gift of a sinless Jesus dying on the cross for you and me. Have you trusted in the gift of God's saving grace? Are you in awe of God's saving grace? I suggest that you sing, hum, or recite the words to the great hymn, Amazing Grace. Blessings as you consider God's amazing saving grace. Grace and peace be with you.